The most dangerous phrase in the corporate dictionary is "we are a family." It is a phrase designed to lower your defenses and to blur the lines between professional obligation and emotional devotion. It suggests that there is a safety net beneath you and that unconditional love exists within the walls of a profit margin. But this is a comfortable lie we tell ourselves to survive the cold reality of the workplace. We crave connection so deeply that we often mistake proximity for intimacy, and we mistake the person who controls our paycheck for a person who protects our heart. The truth is that power creates a divide that no amount of Friday night drinks can bridge. You cannot be true friends with someone who holds the keys to your survival, because friendship requires equality, and there is no equality when one person can fire the other. This is the story of James, a brilliant creative director who forgot the physics of power. He believed that the bond he shared with his boss was stronger than the bottom line, until the day the bottom line demanded a sacrifice, and he found himself on the altar. James worked for a rapidly growing advertising agency in the heart of the city. It was a place of exposed brick walls and ping-pong tables and open-plan desks designed to foster collaboration. His boss was a man named David. David was not the stereotypical tyrant in a suit. He was charismatic and relaxed. He wore jeans and sneakers. He drank craft beer and listened to indie rock. He was the kind of boss who sat on the edge of your desk and asked about your weekend with genuine interest. James and David clicked immediately. They shared a similar sense of humor and a similar vision for the work. They spent late nights in the office ordering pizza and brainstorming campaigns fueled by caffeine and ambition. They felt like partners in crime. They would complain about the difficult clients and make fun of the out-of-touch owners of the agency. David would confide in James about his own stress and his marital problems and his fears about the future. This vulnerability acted like a hook. Because David opened up, James felt safe to open up as well. He felt that they had entered the sacred circle of trust where titles didn't matter. They started hanging out outside of work. They went to concerts together. Their families had dinner together. James stopped seeing David as the vice president of marketing and started seeing him simply as Dave, his buddy who happened to sign his timesheets. This was the mistake. James forgot that while Dave was his buddy on Saturday night, David was the vice president on Monday morning. And the two men could not coexist when the pressure mounted. The trap was sprung on a rainy Thursday evening. The agency had just lost a major account, a client that represented 30% of their revenue. The atmosphere in the office was toxic. Panic was in the air. David invited James out for a drink to blow off some steam. They went to a dimly lit bar on the corner, a place where they had celebrated many victories in the past. But this time there was no celebration. David looked exhausted. He ordered a round of whiskey and sighed heavily. He looked at James with bloodshot eyes and said, "I don't know if I can keep doing this, James. The pressure is killing me. The owners are breathing down my neck. I feel like the ship is sinking." James, seeing his friend in pain, felt the urge to comfort him. He felt the urge to reciprocate the honesty. So James lowered his shield. He leaned in and spoke the words that would eventually become his execution order. He said, "I know what you mean, Dave. Honestly, I have been thinking about looking for a way out myself. I have been looking at some freelance options, maybe starting my own small studio. I just don't know if I have the energy for corporate life anymore. I want to do work that matters." It was a moment of pure connection. Two soldiers in the trenches confessing their war weariness. David nodded sympathetically. He put a hand on James's shoulder. "I get it, man," he said. "I totally get it. We all dream of escaping. Your secret is safe with me." They finished their drinks and went home. James felt lighter. He felt that their bond had deepened. He thought he had shared a burden with a brother. He did not know that he had just handed a loaded gun to a man who would soon need a weapon. 2 months later, the agency was in full crisis mode. The owners were demanding cuts. They needed to trim the payroll to save the fiscal year. They called David into a strategy meeting that lasted for 4 hours. They told David that he needed to cut one senior salary from his department. It was either him or one of his directors. David was a nice guy. He was a cool guy. But David had a mortgage. David had 2 kids in private school. And David, like all human beings, possessed a survival instinct that overruled his empathy. When David looked at the spreadsheet, he saw the names of his team. He saw James, and he remembered the conversation in the bar. He remembered the confession. In that moment, the information shifted from a shared secret to a strategic asset. David did not want to fire James. He liked James, but he needed a justification. He needed a reason that would satisfy the owners and protect his own conscience. He needed to believe that he was doing the right thing for the company. So he convinced himself that James was already 1 foot out the door. He convinced himself that he was doing James a favor by pushing him towards the freelance life he dreamed of. He rationalized the betrayal until it looked like effective management. The meeting with James was short. It was not held at the bar. It was held in the sterile glass conference room. David sat at the head of the table. He was not wearing his sneakers. He was wearing a blazer. He did not look James in the eye. He looked at a piece of paper. He used the corporate voice, the voice that is stripped of all humanity. James, he said, due to the loss of a client, we are forced to restructure the department. We have to eliminate the creative director position. James was stunned. He felt the blood drain from his face. But Dave, he stammered, we are a team. We built this department together. I thought we were in this for the long haul. David finally looked up. His eyes were cold. They were the eyes of a stranger. He said, we need people who are 100% committed to the agency's future, James. And based on our previous conversations, I know that your heart isn't fully here anymore. You mentioned you were looking to start your own studio. I think this is the push you need to pursue that dream. James felt like he had been punched in the gut. The whiskey, the rainy Thursday, the secret he had whispered in confidence. It was all being used against him. It was being twisted from a moment of vulnerability into a cause for termination. You used that against me, James whispered. I told you that as a friend. David stiffened. He straightened his papers. I have a responsibility to the stakeholders, James David said. I have to make decisions based on what is best for the business. It's not personal. It's just business. James walked out of the office with a box of his belongings. He realized as he stood on the sidewalk that he had been played. He had not been fired because of his performance. He had been fired because he gave his boss the ammunition to shoot him. He realized that the friendship was a luxury that David could only afford when the sun was shining. As soon as the storm came, the friendship was the first cargo thrown overboard to lighten the ship. James learned the hard lesson that day. He learned that your boss is not your therapist. Your boss is not your drinking buddy. Your boss is an agent of the organization. Their primary loyalty is to the hand that feeds them, and that hand is not yours. Years passed. James did start his own studio. He became successful. He hired his own employees, but he led them differently. He was kind. He was fair. But he kept a distance. He did not go out for drinks on Thursday nights. He did not ask them about their deepest fears. He respected their boundaries, and he kept his own. One day he ran into David at an industry conference. David looked older. He looked tired. He walked over to James with a big smile and extended his hand. James, good to see you, he said. No hard feelings, right? We had some good times. James looked at the hand. He didn't take it. He smiled a polite, distant smile. The smile you give to a vendor you don't intend to buy from. I learned a lot from you, David James said. I learned the most important lesson of my career. And for that, I thank you. James walked away, leaving David standing with his hand in the air. James realized that forgiveness does not mean amnesia. He understood that you can wish someone well without inviting them back into your life. The lesson is simple but brutal. In the workplace, information is leverage. Every time you complain about the company, every time you admit to a weakness, every time you share a doubt, you are handing over leverage. You are giving your superior a card they can play whenever they need to save themselves. It does not mean they are evil. It means they are human. And humans will always protect their own survival first. We want to believe that we can bring our whole selves to work. We want to believe in authenticity. But total authenticity is a danger. You must keep a part of yourself sacred and separate. You must have a garden that your employer does not have a key to. Your dreams, your fears, your exit strategy, these belong to you and your real friends. They do not belong to the person who writes your performance review. Be friendly. Be kind. Be a great colleague. Listen to their stories. Laugh at their jokes. But never forget the structure. Never forget that there is a hierarchy. A friend is someone who will help you move a couch on a Sunday. A boss is someone who has to calculate if you are worth your salary on a Monday. Those two roles are in conflict. And in the end, the structure always wins. If you are sitting across from your boss today, and they are smiling and pouring you a drink and asking you what you really think about the company, take a breath. Take a sip, smile back, and tell them exactly what they need to hear to know that you are reliable. Keep your truth for the drive home. Keep your truth for the dinner table with your family. Keep your truth for the people who will still love you when you are unemployed, because the company will replace you in a week. But your dignity is the one thing you cannot outsource. Protect it. Guard your tongue. And remember that the person who signs the checks can never truly be the person who holds your soul.